Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all the mamas out there. So excited to be here with you guys this morning. We've got a special call. It's going to be 30 minutes today. And we've got some wonderful, wonderful testimonies and women that are just in the middle of life and seasons that we are in motherhood. So I want to be able to create a space this morning that we can just celebrate all of you. I know Mother's Day isn't always all about love and flowers, and for many it's very heavy. There's a lot of joy and love and gratitude that we experience, but for many of us, there's a lot of grief, right? Some loneliness, maybe even some disappointment on this day. So today we're going to talk about finding yourself again. There's different seasons, and I say this a lot, and I'm in one of them right now, right? Where there's so many different seasons and learning to find who you are in that season of motherhood. We're going to have some real talk today, and we're going to be able to hopefully inspire you through some of the wisdom that these ladies are going to share. So just to briefly introduce who's going to be sharing today is we've got Sunny Kane, who is walking through, teaching others right now and how to get through wilderness seasons of their life. Other women, she is a host on a radio show right now and leads a podcast. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her. We've got Courtney, who is a mama who has overcome addiction. She's lost like 130 pounds. She is refinding her life again. We've got Tracy, whose daughter's moved across the country and is experiencing the empty nest. And we've got Karen, who's going to share with us about the importance of finding your joy again in motherhood. So before we start, I'm going to play a video for you guys. You may or may not want to pull out some tissues. It's a very special one. I have played this video a couple years ago. It's just one that always sticks with me, and it's about a 3-minute video. And let me just get my share screen up right now. The first few minutes you may not, oops, darn, where'd it go? Hold on a second. Here we go. Gotta love the tech stuff. Bear with me, guys. Hold on a second. All right. Can you see? Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to play it off of the screen because it's not working any other way. So let me go. You may not hear the first minute or two, but let's go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
I'm a perfectionist, and so that's hard with kids. There's definitely days when I have my doubts about my abilities. Struggle with my temper. I struggle with like how I react with situations. I wish I knew how to, I guess, just calm myself before speaking to them. I wish I was better at taking time to sit down and just listen more to my child. I wish I was more confident in being a mom. I'm not the most patient person in the world. Patience. Patience is far and away probably the biggest struggle. I just want them to know just how much I love them.
My mom is totally awesome. She's fun to snuggle with. Pretty, funny. She does cook a lot of food for me. She's just unique. That's why I love her so much. We go on dates together. Like we go shopping. She loves me a lot. I have a lot of favorite things about my mom. We like to watch movies together and color and stuff. We go to church together. We volunteer together. She is like my heart, I guess you could say, because she's that close to me. My favorite thing is to jump on a trampoline with my mom. That's my most favorite thing, to go up high. we like get ice cream or something and like you go to the nail salon and have fun. My mommy's my hero. She's pretty and beautiful.
She is my hero.
She just will care about me and just always love me forever. She's the best.
That's so awesome.
I always seem to focus mostly on the negative, and I guess I can walk out of here and say that I'm doing something great and that my child is viewing me in totally different lenses as I view myself. So that's inspiring.
This is my calling. This is my job. This is what I love to do, and I will do it better and with love each and every day because those kids count on me and they love me for what I'm doing.
I love that. I watch it every year, and it is so true, isn't it? How hard we can be on ourselves as mothers. I see some gentlemen on here too, so we're going to say as dads too, just as humans, how hard we are on ourselves. We look for the negative, we look for what we're doing wrong. And, when you see it through the other person's perspective, like our children, and when you get to hear it through their eyes, it's like, yeah, it gets me all emotional. And what we get to do right now is take a look at the reality, the real talk of what motherhood looks like, what being a woman or being a man, right, like looks like. The reality versus the fantasy. Sometimes we have these false expectations of what we believe it's supposed to be, the perfect days, the happiness, the joy, but in reality, it's just not how it is sometimes. So I'm going to bring on Sunny. Sunny, you have walked through some seasons, definitely, as you call it, the wilderness seasons. And I would love for you to just share with us a little bit about what you've walked through, but also, share some of your wisdom in this area so that it can really just help everybody that's listening today. So if I'm going to let you take it away.
Well, hello, everybody. I don't know about wisdom. I think I'm still learning, right? We're all in process here. So when it comes to wisdom and motherhood, I'm still working on it, okay? Let's just be honest here. But I would love for you to use the chat for a minute. How many of you have been through a wilderness season in your life? And by wilderness, I mean those seasons where you feel held back, maybe limited in some way, fenced in. And these are those seasons where ultimately I see everybody's kind of relating here, but they're triggered by grief and life transitions, by difficulties that we walk through. And we face both internal and external resistance in these. But they leave us with common feelings, right? So we all have different parenting. Parenting in and of itself is a wilderness. Can I get an amen? Right? Like you didn't know what it was. You thought it was going to be wide open, spacious life. You stepped in and you're like, my goodness, all I can see is the trees and I have no idea. Somebody help. But they leave us with common feelings. Like sometimes we can feel disillusioned, right? It's not what we thought it would be. Sometimes we can get disconnected from ourselves, from others. In my case, I felt disconnected from God in this season that I wanted to share with you about. So I want to share one of my wilderness because by the way, I talk about wilderness seasons a lot, and the more I talk about them, the more I realize that life is wilderness, okay? We are either in a wilderness season, heading into one, just coming out of one. The reality is life is wilderness. But one of the ones that my family and I hit about 4 years ago, my once healthy, vibrant teenage daughter started experiencing health issues. And it started with dizziness, then fainting, then add to it tachycardia, her heart rate never dropping below 120. She started having nausea, so she didn't feel like she could eat, digestive issues, which caused her weight on her already tiny frame to she just started like disappearing before our eyes. Her legs and her feet turned blue. And on her worst days, they were almost black, and this was all from circulation issues. We didn't know that at the time. Her brain fog rolled in, and this was a smart girl, but she struggled to focus. So much so, in a classroom, she at one point couldn't remember her birth date. I mean, it was insane what we walked through. Her face turned this shade of gray, which I can't describe to you. How we didn't have answers for a while, and I couldn't help shake the fear that my daughter was dying and I was missing something. Well, we had in that season, our days were once packed with dance teams, sleepovers, the sound of teenage girls laughing in her bedroom, and it all shifted to doctor's appointments and IVs and deep research dives on the internet, right? Like that's how we get our parenting advice. Let's just figure out how to solve everything with Dr. Google or now ChatGPT. It didn't exactly help in my wilderness. It only took me further in, just so you know. Those are not really great places to be. But this was something that despite all of my efforts, I could not fix. And there were no words that I could comfort her with. There was no magic wand to take away what she was dealing with. There was no escaping her new reality. Now, in this time, Lori loves to talk about limiting beliefs. And, I really struggled underneath it all with voices in my mind that it was somehow my fault, that I was responsible. And I know it didn't actually make sense, but I that's what I believed at the core of me. And that robbed me of rest in this season. And when I couldn't fix it, it broke me. And it caused me to question what kind of mom I was. I believed I had to be strong to suck it up. And I felt like my sadness was selfish. And it was dangerous, is what I thought, because I thought if I gave way to the sadness, I would never come back and be the vibrant Sunny that I should be for my family. I believed if I gave way to sadness or anger, and if I made space for it to rise, that we would never go back to a joy-filled home. So I just worked to keep everyone happy, right? I took on the exhausting role of mood manager. How many people have been there? And, I worked to find the constant silver lining, even though the suck knob was turned on high. And I felt like I had to convince my family that God was at work, even though I was actually questioning whether he really was. Now, I did have a shift, right? Fast forward, I'm trying to paint the picture that I was in. But it wasn't until I finally got honest that things began to shift. It wasn't until I began to let community in and not do it alone. It wasn't until I got truthful, departing from these limiting beliefs that it was somehow my fault that I had to be the mood manager. It wasn't until I grieved, allowed myself to go there, until I surrendered control. And when these things began to happen, like a flower, I'm not just trying to be poetic with my words, but this is how it felt, like a flower blooming in the wilderness, hope began to rise. My situation did not change. But I started to see it through a different lens. How many of you know you can be in the exact same situation and see two very different things? And things began to shift. And what I wish I would have known when this first came into my life was that, number one, it wasn't my fault. Number two, I wasn't alone. I wish I would have known that I had permission to be human, to be sad, to be angry, as did everyone else in my home. Everything had changed. I wish that I knew at the time that engaging grief was what made way for beauty in our life, and that ultimately joy returns. Sometimes in those wilderness seasons, we think joy will never return, but it does. You see, what I know to be true is that suffering, and this is something that I believe at the core of me, both on my experience and on my faith, I know to be true that suffering, it makes way for perseverance. And perseverance, it strengthens our character. And this is both of me, it's of my children, it's of my daughter. And that strength of character, it begins to strengthen and bring confident hope. And hope does not disappoint, even when our circumstances can and they will. Who chooses their way into a wilderness and says, I can't wait to sign up to feel all of that I have been feeling through that season? And yet, the reality is we will face trials. We will face suffering. Our experience as parents will be hijacked from what we thought it would be to what it actually is. We will experience feelings that we didn't see coming, and yet there they are. And so as I kind of bring this to a close here, I'll tell you this. The reality is, in my life, our circumstances haven't changed. I can tell you that I believe with all of me that we can experience the wide open, spacious life that we have been created for, even in wilderness seasons. You see, my daughter still woke up today and she still has chronic illness. Today we woke up and she is still on the back end of the loss of many dreams, and that keeps coming. But I now realize I can't fix it, but what I can do is recognize that I have been uniquely shaped, uniquely called. I've walked through experiences in my life, and I am the mom that God called to walk alongside my daughter, because I know what wilderness seasons can do for you, and I know what they cause in you, but I know that even in wilderness seasons, hope can bloom, and that's what I call wild hope. It doesn't make any sense, but when you change your perspective, everything can change. So it turns out we truly can count it all joy when we face trials of many kinds. For even in wilderness seasons, you can access the wide open, spacious life that you have been created for. I hope that brings you a little bit of hope in your season, my friends.
Oh my gosh, Sunny, thank you so much for that. And um, being like watching what you were going through in like the beginning stages of all of that, how scary it was, the unknown, not knowing how you can fix your baby girl, doing all the things. And just seeing how right now, like you are turning this around for good and you are helping women everywhere in their wilderness seasons. You guys, Sunny has a podcast that you guys have to listen to. Karen or Tracy, could you guys just drop that link in the chat? Because we are all walking through different seasons of our life. And one of the biggest things that I've gotten out of coaching out of the past 14 years is that we are all more alike than we are different. And that's why we share our stories. That's why we stay together in community. And for some of us, sometimes we don't have a community at home. And what Sunny and her friend Tammy have created is a community to love other women, a community to make a safe space for them to be able to understand that they are not alone in what they are walking through, and to give them that hope in those very dark seasons of life. So thank you, Sunny. Thank you so much. I just so appreciate you. Okay, so next up, we've got Courtney, who is a new friend in my life, and she has just been this standout to me. She's been someone who is just, I could just tell from the sidelines that she has had this amazing story inside of her, and I didn't know what it was. And I reached out to her like a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, Courtney, can I just hear your story? I just want to know you more. So, Courtney, can you come off mute? And I would love for you to share a little bit about how you found yourself again, because you are an overcomer of addiction. You've gotten some hard cards in life, and what you have done and who you are today as this bright and shining light of hope for people is so beautiful to witness. So will you just share a little bit with us about how you found yourself again in all that you've overcome?
Oh, thank you. When Lori originally asked me to do this, my first instinct was no. Like my response was going to be no. But then I reminded myself, I can do hard things. We all can do hard things. So this is not one of the hardest things I've ever done. So here I am today. Lori talks a lot about the limiting beliefs. And for the longest time, I had many limiting beliefs, but the one I always hold dear to my heart is that for so long, I thought that this was just my life. Like, this is my life now. I've had 3 failed back surgeries. I have chronic pain. I have debilitating like neuropathy, like my legs don't work. But, for so many years, I just thought that this is what my life is now. I thought I'd never get better. I thought I'd never be able to exercise. I thought I was just going to continue being morbidly obese. I thought I needed drugs, prescription drugs, which was my drug of choice, and alcohol to cope. I was over 320 pounds, and I had severe depression. I think they say sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you can rise up. And that's exactly where I was. I was just surviving and trying to make it through each day. And at this time, I was mom of a little girl. And one day when I was in the bathroom, it was my turning point. I was standing there taking my medication, enough medication to probably kill 3 adult males. And my daughter knocked at the door and said, "Mommy, what are you doing in there?" And I looked in the mirror and I said, "This cannot be my life. There has to be more. There has to be more." And in that moment, I decided that I was done. Like, there has to be more. I put the medicine down. I took the prescription that I was supposed to be taking. I went and researched on how to make a change, how to come off like the safest way. And I never would recommend doing this alone. There's so many tools out there, but I changed that day and I tapered down and came off all of my medications, everything. I think I took probably 12 to 15 medications every day with a cocktail. I would call it a glass of wine, but it was really a bottle. And I thought I needed that to sleep. I didn't need that. I sleep now better than I ever did with all of those drugs in my system, just by taking magnesium, by eating healthy. I wish what someone would have told me back then was, reminded me that you can do this. You can do hard things, which I remind myself a lot, that your story isn't over, it's beginning and it's starting to be written. I masked my depression and with alcohol, food, and drugs. I managed to lose over 120 pounds. I learned that I can flip the script to I can instead of focusing on what I can't do. And to all my mothers, daughters, grandmas out there, just remember, if I can do this, so can you. You can do hard things. Your story is being written. And show up every day, even when it's hard.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for sharing that. And that is a very vulnerable story to share. It's amazing. We all see you right now as vibrant and just so inspiring and all of those things. And going back into that turning point for you in that bathroom, like thinking about there's got to be more. How many of us have ever thought that in our life? There's got to be more. So thank you for sharing that and opening our hearts to that very, very, very powerful question. And I just appreciate you so much. And I knew that there was some reason I needed to reach out to you. I knew that there was. Thank you for being a standout. Thank you for being a beautiful leader in what's possible for other people in their life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Woo! All right. So this next woman, Tracy, is so dear to me. And I think what you've walked through, Tracy, is what so many walk through. Like we've got these kids living in our houses for all these years. We're in charge of all the things. And then they up and they go to college and they go move across the country. And it's a very, very real emotion. It's a very real needing to like open up to this new season. And some of us aren't ready for it yet. But you are so strong in this. Both of your girls moved up and they're literally across the country. And so just share a little bit about how you found yourself in that season as well. So jump in and share with us.
Oh, gosh, thank you both for sharing. And I've been in wilderness seasons, and we all have, and it helps us to remember what we've come through. So thank you for sharing, both of you. Yeah, well, when my first gal left, Hannah, I was not prepared. I mean, we raised our girls to be fiercely independent, and fiercely independent they are. And that's beautiful. And I love that. And all of a sudden, the first one was gone, and there was a hole that I could not fill. I knew I would never hold my girls back. It's what I wanted. I wanted for them what they wanted for their life because that's the way I was raised. But it was, I found myself wandering. I found myself standing outside of the room that my oldest and youngest daughter shared. I got a call from my oldest daughter saying, "Stop, what is it? Mothering Emmy, the little one." I'm like, I'm not. I was because nobody ever told me. Nobody ever told me that, well, you don't know what you get when you get them. Nobody tells you. There's no book. I don't care how much what to expect. You don't expect it. And then they're gone and nobody tells you. And it's very difficult. And although like it was a duality of knowing that it's okay, but feeling that it wasn't. And so, frankly, what I did is I got on Facebook one day and I just laid it out. Lori was looking for that recording, but a little while back, Facebook said if you don't save these or whatever, like all those recordings are gone. But I just kind of spoke to everyone saying, hey, if you're in the season, it's stinking tough. It took me 3 months. 3 months to just settle, like stop looking at the dinner table and someone's gone. Like we're just as mothers, that's who we are, and fathers, that's who we are. And then it's not. And how do you reconcile that? So it was hard the first 3 months. And then, it was also during COVID and politics. And oh my word, if I was not a woman of faith, that is what absolutely saved me, is my faith and knowing that I took a very left turn when I moved out to California originally and had a really hard time and was in a very dark place for a long, long time. And the Lord saved me and he picked me out of that pit. And so I had that confident assurance that if he could do that for me, he would do that for my children, no matter what they faced. And that's quite frankly what keeps me going. It's not perfect. My girls are not where I'd want them to be with their walk in their faith. They're great girls. They're absolutely wonderful. They make a difference in life. They're brilliant. They handle themselves so well. And, of course, as their mommy, I would like to see different things, but here's what I do know. And it's, some people say to me, why don't you worry? How do you do this? I'm like, because I know what God did for me. And if he did it for me, he'll do it for them, And even through a time when we got that horrible call at 3 a.m. from a dear friend who lives out there that was kind of Hannah's mommy on the West Coast saying, your daughter was in a car accident. She's okay. But knowing, I got to jump on a plane. I just knew that I knew that I knew that God had them and he would take care of it all because like the rest of you, we can't control it. You probably have realized that in some of your adventures in life. We try and we try and we try, but we can't. So I do have a assurance that they're in good hands, way better than the hands that I could have on them. And although it's hard, and there's not a time that goes by that I wish they weren't under my roof or at least closer. I miss the little dance. We do holidays, we do that, but I miss, let's go to Target. I miss, come help me plant flowers or whatever, the little things. I miss that. But that's our life right now. And that's what it is. And I know that they're in good hands. So for me, if somebody would say what I would have wanted someone to tell me is just lean into your faith, trust the Lord. He's got this. He can do it way better. He created the universe, Tracy. You just had a baby.
Love it.
So
I love that.
That's helpful to you all.
It is. Thank you so much, Tracy. And, there's all kinds of people on the call today. And what I love about this is that everybody has their own perspective of what helps them. Some are of faith. And for you, Tracy, that is your personal testimony. And I love that, there's really sometimes no other way to tell a story, but to say it in that way. And I appreciate that very much. So thank you for that. And Karen, you are going to wrap us up today because, as seasons change in life and our responsibilities are different in parenthood and motherhood. That what's been really beautiful is when I've gotten to learn so much from you and how you have found your joy again, and how you have found things that you can do to just really, I don't know, it's just so you inspire me every day when I see you going out and doing those things. So take it away and share a little bit of wisdom and how you made that shift for yourself.
Okay, so so what I'm going to talk about today is probably, gosh, I'm just going to say it. Okay, so first of all, I loved hearing from everyone else, and I always learn so much from all of you women, and I love you all. I want to talk to the moms who may be dealing with a situation where their relationship is strained with their children, or there's estrangement involved. Because that's what I've walked through for the past 5 years. So, most people don't talk about it. And, it's not an easy thing to talk about, but I think we need to, because it's kind of rampant out there. But anyway, so I'm going to just share with you how you can move past a season like that and find your joy again in 30 seconds or less. Anyway, so this is where my situation was. We all have these visions of what our family is going to be, as we have young children and we're looking at, what we envision our lives are going to look like once they're grown and all that kind of stuff. You never in a million years think that something like this is going to happen to you, or you're going to have a strained relationship with your child, even, or they're just not going to speak to you. So when something like that happens, it does rock your world. It makes you question everything about yourself. It makes you, doubt your abilities as a mother. You think you're a bad mother. You think you failed. You ruminate and you go through these seasons of it's grief. It is grieving someone who is still alive, and it's hard. And I think that, going through that, just you have a choice, basically. For the first couple years that I went through this season in my life, it was just, I did everything possibly wrong that I could do. And then finally, you get to the place where you have to realize that it's up to you. It's basically like you can live in that doubt and that fear and the guilt and the rumination and questioning, what you did wrong, everything you did wrong. Newsflash, you were not a bad mother. Okay. I know for a fact everybody does the best possible job that they can as a mother. Does it make us perfect? Heck no. We all make mistakes. I was far from a perfect mother, but I know that I did everything in my power to be a good mother in spite of my flaws. So the first thing is forgiving yourself and realizing that no one's perfect. You did the best you could do. And then once you kind of like have that realization, it's like, do you want to live in this for the rest of your life? Or do you want to make a choice to choose joy again? You have to forgive them, forgive you, let go of bitterness, because bitterness is going to kill you. That's where the forgiveness comes in. No matter what is going on, you've just got to forgive yourself and forgive them. And know that, for me, I am a woman of faith, and what the Lord showed me, I have grown so much through this process. What he showed me was that in actuality, I was making my children idols, and anything that took the place of him was an idol. And that's what they were to me. And you can love them fiercely. You can continue to love them with all of your heart, but you cannot idolize them. And they cannot be the most important thing in your life, because then if it's gone, what do you have? You're left in this pit of self-pity and guilt and doubt. So that was the first thing. Just, I had to realize that I was a person before I was a mother. I still love my child fiercely. I still have the belief that one day it will come back, but I had to find my joy again. I had to find my own purpose again and go on with my life and love them from afar. So my advice to anyone who is going through this is find your joy. For me, I found dancing. I love it. I'm not good at it, but I love it. And it brings me massive joy. I have, my friends, many of the women on this call have walked through this season with me and are still walking through this season with me. You find your support. You find the joy in other things. You find yourself again and love them from afar, knowing and believing that one day, it will all work out. So, okay, I'm done. Sorry, I went too long.
No, you did not. I think we could do a whole call on this topic that is not talked about. I mean, thank you for being so brave. I have seen you grow through this whole process, and seeing the joy in you dancing, seeing your pictures and your videos, I could not be more proud of you. I love what you said. I was a person before I was a mother. That is the perfect thing to wrap up this call, because there's so much to celebrate, right? There's so much to celebrate in motherhood. And there's so much to take care of ourselves in the whole process as well. Dang, Karen, you got me. So, my encouragement, sorry, guys. My encouragement to you is don't forget to fill your cup. Not just this weekend for Mother's Day, but for every day. This is an opportunity to refine yourself again, no matter what season of motherhood you're in. Find your community, find your tribe, and realize that just in you sharing your story, Karen, there's been a lot of people in the chat, and I think that's where I'm getting emotional, that are going through difficult things. And I just want to encourage you. Dang. This is your life. Find alignment in your life of what's true to you. Find your values. Find what's most important to you in your life, and make sure that your life is aligned in that. Find yourself. Find yourself in this. Go create your own experience in your life. Go find hobbies. Go find dancing. Find a community. Find a church. Find a tribe. Find somebody that is going to be aligned with who you are to help support you, help refill your cup. Life was not meant to walk alone. And I just want to encourage you. I mean, that's what we do here on Saturday mornings, creating an environment so we can all grow and learn and love and support each other. Follow Sunny's podcast. Do whatever you can. Start with one step today. Just take one step today as a gift to yourself for Mother's Day. What's one hobby? What's one thing that you can do for you? We're not starting with changing everything in your life, but just one positive thing for you. Love you all. Thank you to each and every one of you guys that shared today. You ladies are unbelievably extraordinary. And guess what? Every single person listening is also extraordinary. These ladies, these testimonies are just proof that you can take one step, because that's all they've done. They are far from perfect, but they've taken one step to find themselves again. I love you all. Happy Mother's Day. We will see you next Saturday. We're going to dive in a little bit more next weekend into some actual tangible things that you can do to find yourself and find more alignment in your life. I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. Go make it amazing. All right. Love you all. Thank you to everybody who shared. Have a great day.